G'day, Matthew Cutler-Welsh here from Homestyle Green. I want to talk briefly about concrete floor slabs. How much heat do you think gets lost out of the side of a concrete floor? Would you believe it's as much as 80% of heat loss goes through the side, not through the bottom? Now that's quite a staggering statistic when you consider just how much space there is around the outside, and really compared with the amount that's underneath, it's not that much. But here's why. The ground underneath the house, and this is a cross section of a typical floor slab. We've got our floor here. This is our carpet or whatever our floor covering is, and our wall. We'll assume that's kind of nicely insulated. Don't know if it is or not. And we do have some polystyrene along the bottom of here. That's fairly common, either in big pods or in large sheets, to put a little bit of insulation. In most cases, we think we're doing pretty well because we're insulating the floor slab, so that must be good, right? Well, here's the thing. The ground down here stays at a relatively constant temperature. And that's true for the ground everywhere, but certainly when you stick a house on top of it, it's going to stay pretty well constant throughout the year because it's got a house on top. But the air right next to the house, that's where it's going to get really, really cold. So, cold morning here in New Zealand, let's go, say, Christchurch, it could be minus 2 or 3 degrees out here. And we're going to want our house to be 18, 20, maybe higher. So we've got quite a significant temperature gradient here, and that's just a recipe for getting heat loss. So heat is going to move from the warm place to the cold place, and it's going to shoot straight through this nice thermal bridge here, straight out to the side of that concrete slab. So how do we fix this? Well, there are two main ways that we can do this. One is to put a little bit of insulation down the outside and generally continue that down underneath the ground. And that's usually something like polystyrene, kind of similar to what goes under here, usually not quite as thick. What we do have to do then is protect that polystyrene because it's not very durable, so we might need to put a little a board down here or render it with some plaster to protect that. That's obviously the extra labour for someone on site. It's a little bit of an unknown quantity for a lot of builders. They haven't necessarily done that before. So that's a very good option, but you may need to explain that or work through that with your builder. One of the issues they may have is how to fix the whatever the cladding is on the outside, because there may be a positive detail here and they may be a little bit concerned about that with water getting up into that cladding. But that's all, there are ways to overcome that, it's fine. The other way that can be considered is to put a thermal break in here. And that can be a piece of timber, or again it can be a piece of polystyrene. The tricky bit there is that that has to be inlaid into that foundation wall before the concrete slab gets poured. And that's a little bit tricky because they have to drill ties in and somehow get reinforcing steel in the middle of that thermal break, particularly now with concerns around earthquake safety and seismic activity of that foundation. So there are a couple of solutions, and there are ways that brands have said these are acceptable solutions for ensuring that we insulate the sides of that slab. And insulating the sides of the slab is a highly recommended thing to do because it does significantly improve the overall performance of that floor slab. But I had a chat to a guy this week from Max Raft, and they've got another great system which is in a much more comprehensive way of creating a whole slab which is insulated all the way through and completely insulated from the ground and from the air on the outside. So check it out. It's on the podcast at homestylegreen.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you've got any questions about that or any other episode, please do get in touch with me at comments@homestylegreen.com. Thanks very much. I'm Matthew Cutler-Welsh, and tune in again next week.